this line here is supposed to explain to the audience what they were doing in the very first part. Which, trapping the characters, they're not just doing it for temporarily trapping them and then having them freed. The whole point of getting the characters trapped in the first place was to give them a trial of what his real plan was, which he's going to explain here. It was technically a trial and him gathering energy, which he explains we were basically being fooled for dupes. This was mainly meant to be the audience clarifier, telling everybody that we instead used the stars, since the stars that were being collected are technically already collected. We only needed to use their power to free the characters from the levels, which is not given any visual effect. It's said in the script at least 6 or 7 times. Here's what he was doing. He was sending out a bunch of energy into each world, which was the purple fog in the first place, which he sent out into every single dimension and sub-dimension and general place. It affects the properties of the level, how people react to the level. Since the way it traps people is only temporary, since they get freed by the 100 coin star later, he needed to make a plan, which is part of what he was testing in the very first part, in the very first scene of the entire series. This was a custom scene I recorded and was Vindimka's sort of memory. The energy from the level had gone inside them when they had invincibility frames, therefore their power up to escape was being held within them, and would react with the star if they attempted to grab one. This bit's pretty self-explanatory. The reason why I didn't do scenes like that for the whole time is because you'd notice that I was using 2 moon jump codes in order to prove the difference there. Because if you use one of the moon jump codes, it will override any animation, and it will override the game function that's supposed to take place there. So, I didn't want to do that for every single star in every single place. I thought if I could only do it once here, I don't need to show it in every single time afterwards. He was listening. When we released the others, the collected energy from the whole level and the energy from inside the characters had gone inside the 100 coin star. He used the power. He made sure the energy would go inside the 100 coin star when we collected them, and he taunted us throughout all the levels so that he could make sure that we knew what we were doing, so that we were helping him instead of, us foiling his plan. He kept us on the lead that we were foiling his plan, because that was the only thing keeping us going, which he explains later on. It's only a star. I had to look up a thing on Google Images. The energy after going into the star realizes it's inside the star, and then the stars would the energy would send itself to the machine, in which Vindimka would have it on the device would be on Vindimka and the energy would fly to it. So, and he would make sure that it would go to his device, and once it got to his device, he would then hard code its direction through the dimensional cycle to this place in the Star Road into one of the bombs, which would signify that particular dimension. And the bomb would explode the energy in that particular dimension everywhere. Using powers obtained from where? You'll see soon. This is a recreation, this isn't the actual scene. This is actual footage from part 3. This is a perfect idea of him having the illusion. Because without the fact that they were actually helping him, any idiot would be fooled to think, oh yeah, collecting the 100 coin stars would actually foil his plan. But he was leading them onto that path so then they could help him instead. And he put it under a lie that we were actually helping ourselves rather than helping him. And that was why he didn't explain the full plan in part 2. This is why he explained it now. This was what I was keeping these files in for. This is why I needed to get it out. People needed to understand what Vindimka's real plan was and how the series ended. I couldn't just keep them waiting for however long it was going to take. And it could have gotten up to 3 years at the rate it was taking. No matter if they had been into, no matter if, the other counterpart would have gone in, the knowledge hadn't hit them yet, so they would just go into the levels unknowing. Remember how Pink 14 didn't know what was going on and thought she needed to know because of the dimensional similarity theory? Yeah, that's what he means here. And it wouldn't have mattered even if they had been there before, he just let out the energy anyway. Why 6, even though he's got 5 bombs? The Rainbow Road is a part of the Star Road. And he didn't go to every dimension, but he got enough energy that would suffice for all of the dimensions anyway. Now he's actually going to continue focusing on his plan while he leaves us to mope. And because I was so confident this whole time, oops. This was another reference I wanted to make. Since Starman 3 is in the main team, I wanted him to make a reference to the fact that this is a reference to how Dementia fooled everybody into the 4th dimension. And this took me a while to figure out the whole plan in full. And eventually I figured out, oh wait, this is like Dementia's plan. Similar, but different. Because of the fact that this is running off of different motivations. And you'll see those in a moment. But Dementio similarly fooled them into fooled the heroes into thinking they needed to collect all of the D-stars to stop him. But in fact, he wanted them to collect the D-stars for him so that he could grab them off him in the end, and since they would all be together, use all of them to create the Mega D-star and then destroy their world. So he basically duped them, but instead, but Dementia played a far more passive role in Into the 4th Dimension. He didn't really, you look at Dementia and Into the 4th Dimension, and all he did was possess 2 of the main heroes for maybe, 3 parts of the whole thing, and literally just sat there doing nothing because of how his plan was set out. Vindimka constantly moved around and talked to them more often. That's what I wanted to have happen, to have more of an interaction with the main villain, since they're supposed to be an important part of the story. Now it's a Q&A session with the remaining questions of the audience being answered here. Mainly, which is happening in the script. Mainly padding out time for Vindimka. He's kidding them here. This is how I'm placing the characters, as you can clearly see. Enzo, to the left of Enzo, is blue. And in actuality, Vindimka's forcing the star to appear. You realize Colin has been silent for a very long time now. They never really mentioned anything of any character living in the Star Road. So this gave me the perfect opportunity to place these characters here since nobody's here in the first place. Now, you wouldn't expect Blue to get so angry, but the why is an important part of anyone's motivation. And this is exactly why in the previous part I made all those references to Blue's past. This is the bit they're going to talk about next. He mentions it as if he has a relationship with Blue. This ties into Blue's backstory, which also, this line also ties in to the very first, to part 2 of the series. Again, part 2, and this whole series was meant to tie together, this whole bit is meant to tie together all of the loose ends of the series now, of the remaining portions before the fight. The fight is meant to be a plain fight that's not meant to be the main point of the video, but apparently everyone else thought it was supposed to be, even though it's not. Because really, the rest of it's important. If any of you paid attention to part 2, you would know that this isn't me lying. There's a bit of distortion happening here, and you'll soon figure it out. Notice Vindimka's face. Just be careful about that. And I can only do so much when I have color codes to deal with, so I'm sorry that I can't apparently show baby blue. If anyone's going to complain, sorry, in a world where everybody's supposed to look the same, I can't do too much. It was right then and there that something happened that Vindimka's not explaining. And you'll soon find out after the fight is over. It was meant to be the big reveal. What I'm basically holding back is that the character Vindimka and Colin as well were both possessed by a spirit at the exact time they wanted to flee from the Bomb King. So the both of them lived the rest of their lives in complete distortion. Meanwhile, Blue was the only one living normally. This spirit also gave Vindimka his powers and also allowed Blue to live for so long so that eventually maybe he might end up falling under the possession as well. But then I interfered and his whole life changed. That is true, but they did that under distorted memories. They weren't themselves. They were possessed. And then they ended up starting the plan. This bit of the script was also based off of actual real life, like, family issues. I don't have siblings or like any family issues, but just how people relate to death in terms of important family members and stuff. This is more so me talking about an experience that you know has just tainted me for the rest of my life. See how he's only speaking now? But that's why Blue was left on that island in episode 5. He was left there because Vindimka left him there at the moment that he got possessed and they were about to leave. And he was far too young and slow. In 2012, Blue is supposed to be the same age as my character. And I was 14 in 2012. Let's remind the audience of episode 5. It is here that we figure out that I figure out that Blue was lying to me in part 15 about dancing around the questions, and that Blue was totally different. That's how he'd been there before, because of his prior experience there in his old color code. November 2012 was when he started his leave to go out and find the version of me that hadn't time traveled yet. This is set in 2014. In 2013 I time traveled back to 2012. So it is the same year I time traveled to last year. So yes, it's all completely past. Now Blue can technically tell all of the story whenever he wanted to. In November of 2012. October was when they did the king thing. He was willing to wait it out until we would figure out what we did. And he just wanted to be friends with me in general. In episode 2, before I had traveled, and I took a look at that script, I went back and looked at the script. I had said, Blue had said, I'm someone that you don't know about yet. But it's in a very vague sense. So I just think he's talking gibberish. Winnie's had to seal him away. Essentially, what Vindimka's, the spirit's plan is to seal everyone and trap them just like he did before, but with no escape. Completely no escape. And forcing them to stay there forever. Because killing them wouldn't help him. He doesn't want to kill people. He wants people to suffer. He just wants them to suffer. He wants to watch them suffer. He wants them to cry out in agony. Just suffer. That's what he wants. That's all he wants right now as the spirit. And that he doesn't want death, he just wants suffering. That's why I'm avoiding the word death, because that's not his plan. In the original script, it said something like he launched a beam of light or something, but I didn't think that would work well for his character, that launching light as the dark character. So I ended up making like shield suckers instead. This is a very corny line, but it's him breaking out of the possession of the spirit. This is the real Colin breaking out. And how is he able to do that? The star. Why didn't he do it before? Well, he didn't have the power yet. He was just near Vindimka, but being near other people has helped him. Along with his own brother. A lot of this part of the script had to be rewritten because it was scripted in a way that didn't make sense, so I had to change half of the script. This bit in particular. I tend to think how the spirit possesses them. They can only watch what's going on, but they can't influence anything that's going on. So until they manage to fight it themselves. The energy is a part of the spirit. It will basically dissipate if the spirit dissipates. Now this is just taunting. He had planned for 5 people, but not 6. So whoops. I prepared. I forced you to look at the bombs. I found a Mario Machinima pack which had a bunch of DBZ sounds in it, which I used for this scene and the latest scenes. Hey peeps, Pinkolol16 here. This is kind of a bit of a weird interlude, but this part of the commentary is going to be recorded afterwards, since a little bit more of the story happened after I recorded the initial part of the commentary, which includes part 1 and most of this part. So what's going on is that when I initially recorded the commentary, I had a different version of the video up. That version was 27 minutes long, and it was all going fine and dandy until Mario 2.0 took down the video, because apparently it was using his content, even though he hadn't uploaded the preview on his channel at all for some reason. And I don't know, like, if he'd uploaded it anywhere else. And I used initially the preview for the first part of the fight scene, but since this is supposed to be a commentary over the actual part, what you're going to be seeing is a different version of what I've actually done. So I'm going to be commentating over the part of the fight that happened before the ending part, which was still in, is still in this video and is still in the original video that I was commentating over. But yeah, I based several portions of this first half of the fight off of his preview, actually, since most of it was fine and dandy, except for the strange part in the middle of it, where Vindimka goes extremely out of character and starts wanting to kill everything, which I explained it literally a couple seconds ago. I don't want that to be his character, because that's not his plan. That'd be generic. He just wants to kill people just because that'd be stupid. He doesn't want that, because that won't give him anything in terms of suffering, which is what I explained before is part of his plan. So yeah, let's commentate over this part of the fight now. I don't exactly know how long making this took, because I was making it very sort of quickly. I think I made it within like 6 or something hours, and then combined with that, that's like 11 hours worth of fight scene. Again, some people would probably roll their eyes like, oh my god, this is totally terrible quality, but I wanted it to be at least matching up to decent quality, and this to me is decent. If I'd tried making this back in 2014-15 when I initially would have tried this, I would have completely failed at making even something that resembles a fight scene. I even used similar music. The thing was, Mario 2.0 was using a lot of Sonic music, which I did not intend. I thought he was just going to use some random tracks that some others had for the original fight scene that he'd created. So that's why I put Chaos in the interlude before, in the bit before Vindimka actually begins fighting. He's like, "Oh, come at me," and I inserted it there because it's kind of tauntish music, and I wanted it to be like Chaos 6, the themeness of it. I didn't expect him to actually use that music, but yeah, I used it here. They're not actually gone, they teleported. I had to actually edit some portions of this, mainly scenes where the characters are holding one another in the widescreen variant, mainly because of the way I managed to do widescreen. It stuffs up positioning, so I actually had to, that's the main differences between that version and this version. And back when I initially commentated over it, the widescreen variant wasn't out, but I've now released both, and they're kind of both their own thing. You're not going to hear this, but initially Mario placed that line in there, and I supervised him over that line in his preview, which was, I said that it was supposed to be a lie. This is supposed to be a lie, but I'm not lying in the sense that they are a part of his power. The bombs are essentially his energy, but they don't enhance his powers. That's not what he wants them for. He's doing that to taunt my character, because he liked doing it when he was deceiving us. He likes doing it now while we're fighting him. it's a fun thing, apparently. This was scripted very hastily, and I wanted to make sure it was scripted in accordance to how I scripted then. I'm not dead, I just got hit very hard, apparently. This isn't very, this isn't given context very well, but, Starman and Enzo are supposed to be, like, launched into the air, that's why they're moon jumping. I did like the character of Vindimka's spirit going insanely crazy, so I decided to use it, but in a different way that didn't make him go utterly, completely insane and mad. Because the way Mario did it initially in the original fight that I originally had put in the original video that is now gone, the thing he put in the original video, it was a thing where he went insane and then said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to you all are pests. I want you to, like, completely die off the face of the planet," or something like that, which I did not want. But I like the idea of him going crazy because he'd be losing strength to move his now possessed body. But, like, I don't want him to lose sense of his goal that way, if you understand. I had a mind blank in the middle of that. I'm sure I'll text correct over this. This is scripted very, very similarly to the original fight scene that MM made. However, there are some adjustments to make sure that the characters aren't just randomly going out of character. Mario with Vindimka in the mad scene. Here's the obvious answer with the suffering bit. The song playing right now, actually, is a Sonic Rush song used at the very end of the game. I wouldn't have been able to use it if if I had released it earlier. I wouldn't have been able to use it in such a fitting situation. I really wanted to use this particular song. It's the song when, or song jingle, whatever, when Sonic and Blaze are about to attack the final boss in, like, a cutscene before the very end of the game. So, I really wanted to use it, and the thing is, me making this fight scene kind of helps me make sure I can actually use it. I'm not sure its actual name, because there wouldn't have been any other way for you to rip it aside from going inside the game's files and doing that. But, like, because it was in a cutscene and the song's playing during an automated cutscene where it does the inputs for you, so you can't get a full loop of it. Meanwhile, if you rip the song from the game, you'll get the full loop. Now I can actually use it. In that bit there where you can see a bit of the mask where Zaid falls, I couldn't exactly do anything about that. I tried very hard to see if I could, like, oh, can I put like a white fade over the whole thing, but I realized that's not going to work. So yeah, it just looks, that's how it's going to look, and that's going to be how it's going to look. Initially, in my mandates for the fight scene, I had, Vindimka had 6 versions of himself, 5 clones and himself. And, we were 6 people, and during the fight, Zayd, Starman, and Enzo had to fall. Zayd and Starman were because I hated them. Enzo was because, oh yeah, why am I just saying, oh yeah, join the hate bandwagon? I'm not hating Enzo, I'm just saying I needed a random character to fall that wasn't a plot important character for the next part of the scene. Enzo was literally kind of shoehorned into the fight, so it kind of helps that he can just fall, and it won't affect the plot much. Both Blue and Colin and myself needed to be there for the final scene. Yeah, me standing still like that's because of how the animation functions. I couldn't do much about that. Now they're actually gone, and you'll know with that explosion effect that I found off the internet. Yeah, I probably could have positioned that text box there a bit better, but you can tell what I'm trying to say anyway. And thus, this ends my commentary on this part. You'll see my past self in 2 seconds. 3, 2, 1, or 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. This gave me a very easy transition to change it up to my not very proud attempt. I'm not even, here you go, here's my terrible GSFing skills. I'm not proud of it. This is why I wanted to release it and get it out. Just get the fight over and done with. Get what I needed to do done, and just get it over with. Sorry you all, I'm not waiting 3 years for my project that was meant to be done in 2015 for it to be out. I was actually listening to like this song, trying to figure out if I could like musically sync the punches to the song or whatever. This was scripted on the spot by me. That's supposed to be a weaker version of his energy since he's losing power. I'm not proud of it, but I had to get the video out. I wasn't going to wait 15 years just to release the final part of my series. You all would do the same thing if you had series to release, if you weren't sitting there moaning on it for days on end about how you might be able to do something if you even tried. I'm mainly saying that as to the group that mainly said all this, because they mostly moaned about SM64 stuff that they wanted to do, but had no motivation to do, simply because, oh yeah, I simply don't want to. And like lacking the motivation, essentially. It wasn't even like writer's block or anything, or like SM64 block, machinima block, whatever the hell you want to call it. It wasn't even like that. It was literally just like the lack of care of even like starting or whatever. So I didn't want them to drag that little motivation into my series. The fight scene wasn't meant to be the main part of the video anyway, which is why I wanted originally no script. No script, just them fighting, as like my part of the fight scene would have been. Just them fighting, and the script bits would be bits like this, where the most important bits would happen where they need to. Not when someone else is controlling the script and ends up creating mischaracterizations of characters to make them the devil when they're not supposed to be. Excuse me. And of course, since I spent an entire year working on school things, it doesn't help that, you know, I was trying to be consistent and also trying to end the series as well. This bit, I literally was following the script and maybe editing one bit, that was it. You can't see it very well, but his face is turned back to normal. This is about 3 separate recordings on its own. He was certainly seeing everything Melvindor was forcing him to do, but not, like, he couldn't influence anything. He's called Spirit now, but you'll find out his name soon. If you weren't listening in this whole thing already. Elvindor, it's not Dower, it's Door. Elvindor, it was a villain I created about 2 years ago as just, like, 2 or 3 years ago as just, a main villain for, like, this story. But considering a lot of my stories have been about possession and about, like, a spirit or something possessing somebody else that, caused them to be a villain for a bit, Elvindor has basically become my go-to villain for if I've made a possession story. Because possessing someone means you want to, like, be that person, to do something. So, in this guy's case, he wants to possess that person to see someone else, or that person specifically, suffer. So that he feeds on it, and then he moves on to the next world when he's done. When there is nothing else for him. When he ends up like this, outside of the body, when he can only talk like this. Which is why he could warp his hand in the fight. If anyone wants to make a dust cloud that could be like Vindimka's, no, Elvindor's actual form, go right ahead, I don't care. He was basically possessing both Colin and Vindimka from since the day they escaped. And Vindimka's abilities of sealing blew away. Those came from Elvindor, so that Elvindor could later come back, pick Blue up, and then force the 3 of them to do the adventure together. But then I interfered and Blue's life was changed. And that's how the story began. So he technically was distorting their memories, using them to his advantage. The line was originally, "I'm going to return," but that was a reference to a series that I was planning to make that would have involved him again, since he's my go-to villain for this stuff. But since this got in the way, and I have a bunch of other stories that involve him in the future, there's no way I could bring him back to this world. Zade's being sarcastic here. Colin's been duped for his whole life, and now he's got time to mull it over. To mull over his whole life to realize what he's basically done to his whole family. It also means that that Colin got possessed himself. Keep that in mind. Since Vindimka's himself, there's no need for any of the antagonism anymore. Blue's life was changed, and he only barely remembers them. There's no point in him staying with them anymore, and he wants them to heal on their own, since he moved on. Colin's really the only sentimental one here. And the energy's dissipated now. They're not in the bombs anymore. That's part of Elvendor, and it went with him when he literally disappeared. And his device. Did you hear that? Did you see that bit? Here. Let's just end the song so it's actually fitting. Now this is another reference, and the final reference, that that YCI never went as well as it should, because I'm obviously here now commentating over my videos and Starman 3's videos. Not a lot of people are happy with the end, but I don't care. I did what I had to. And that's the end of the commentaries over the Cursed Invincibility frames. There's not much else to commentate over after that. Just a couple of other videos that I made that I still have to commentate over, but there's not many of them left, really. So, I'll commentate over the bloopers, but that'll be another time. Until then, see y'all, have a good day, peace. I picked this song because it's the ending of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon's important to me.